continues to be the most shorted stock in the S&P. We've seen a number of analyst downgrades on Tesla in the last couple of weeks. Sure. You're still rated overweight. You got a $385 price target. Why are you so bullish?
Yeah, well, just to follow on to what Phil was saying, I don't believe that we're going to hear that they're stepping back production on the Model 3. But I also don't think that's the main point here on the second quarter call. Again, to Phil's point, it's about the sustainability. Well, can they hit profitability in the third quarter, and then the sustainability of that profitability trajectory into 4Q and beyond? You know, CapEx to a large extent is behind us, I think, for the Model 3. And as we see production ramping and deliveries now, even though there were about 10,000 units in transit at the end of the quarter, deliveries ramping very significantly into the third quarter, we think that that bodes very well from a cash perspective. And, you know, there has been some consternation around this idea that the average price point is going to be unsustainably high. We think that misses the forest for the trees a little bit, too. What they've been spending money on for the last several years has been vertically integrating the production side of the vehicle, such that a lot of the traditional components are going to be higher yielding and therefore lower cost components. So we think this is a profitable vehicle, even at a much lower price point, closer to the $35,000 to $40,000 level.
Jamie, how closely you're watching reservations, and do you expect that we'll get some data or some more information in terms of that where Model 3 is concerned? Because there's been a lot of, I guess, speculation, a lot of reports out there recently that reservations are getting canceled, and that could be a much bigger issue than is currently being suggested.
Yeah, it's a great question and hard for us to know. They've gone sort of backwards and forwards a little bit on their transparency around reservations over the years. I think when you go back and you look at the Model S at the launch and the Model X at the launch, at those times they did give consumers that were willing to pay hefty premiums the opportunity to jump in line. That's the case here. And we also think, look, of the 400,000+ orders that were outstanding, and by the way, before they even launched this vehicle, the speculation was 10,000 or 20,000 orders. You know, we had 500,000 at one point. We do think a large chunk of those orders are consumers that might not want the biggest battery pack, might not want the all-wheel drive capability of the vehicle, and are willing to wait. And so you don't think that's necessarily bad news that this email went out recently suggesting that if you want to pay up, you can jump in line. Mm-hmm. And so I think the reservation data is going to be actually fairly positive coming out of the call.
Phil, last quarter's conference call was inimitable. Is it going to be nearly as interesting this time around? Is the YouTube analyst going to be there? I mean, if you could ask Elon Musk one boring, boneheaded question, what would it be?
Well, it would be the one that Tony Sacconaghi was trying to ask when he called it boring and bonehead, which was about cash flow. It's all about the cash flow. Do I think he's going to have the same performance as he had last quarter? No, I don't think so. Having said that, a lot of times I've said I don't think Elon Musk will do X, Y, and Z, and he's done the complete opposite. And I don't think anybody can predict, exactly how he's going to be on this call. Sometimes he's on this call and he's kind of sleepy. Other times he's feisty, and you never know what you get with him.
Yeah.
Jamie, final question here. What do you make of these stories that Tesla has had to basically pull people off the street? They've even called Phil LeBeau to come in and work on their factory line so that they can produce things. Do you put stock in that?
Not really, candidly. I mean, I think, when we look at employment at Tesla, and I think maybe what you also might be referring to tangentially are some announcements they've made over the last few months and quarters of some downsizing that's been going on sort of away from production. But, we were at the Gigafactory outside of Reno back in May. They've rejuvenated, a large part of the economy in that part of Nevada. I mean, there's, upwards of 20,000 people working on that site. There's a vigor that we certainly don't see, walking around the halls of some of, our competitors and clients on Wall Street. So, there's a very, I think, palpable buzz at Tesla. I don't think there's a lack of demand, supply for talented individuals. So, no, I don't put a lot of stock in that. Great.